Next on Fatherhood Fridays, Season 4.
Yo, can you hear me?
I can hear you loud and clear.
Just excited this week. Man, I have been trying to get this brother on air.
Well, I can tell you for sure that there are no perfect parents.
Mm-hmm.
And, I think, one of the biggest challenges, I think, for moms and dads in general is that parenting, you sense it. It's one of the most critical roles that you're going to play in life.
I think I shared my feelings on that.
All right, so this is what I got so far.
Welcome back and thanks for joining. You are now listening to Fatherhood Fridays, Season 4 with your host, Chalmer. Man, I'm going to tell y'all, I am excited. I am thrilled. I'm on Season 4 and I've been trying my best to get a hold of this brother, whether it's his schedule, whether it's my schedule. We just haven't been able to click, but I've been trying to get this brother on my episode for a long time, and now I finally got him. And not only do I have him on the air today, for those of you that are listening for the first time, we're going to be talking about families and families that have adopted kids. And I know someone personally that has taken in, I believe, 3 kids. Is that correct?
Yeah, we've actually taken in 8.
Okay.
But out of those 8, we've actually adopted 3.
Okay, so taking in 8 kids, adopted 3. So without further ado, allow me to introduce to you a good friend of mine I've known since college, Alonzo Brown Jr. How you doing, man?
I'm good, man. What's up, Chamis?
Hey, man. Just giving the fathers, these episodes and trying to empower, bless, make people laugh, and all the above.
Yeah, that's what's up, man. I always enjoy listening to your podcast, man. And I'm glad you're on here bringing hope and encouragement to us fathers, because we need it out here.
Definitely, especially in these perilous times that we're in now. I'm one of many podcasts that are out there, but each one is different, and so I bring people on that come from different perspectives and that are doing different things to advance the kingdom or have had different experiences to advance the kingdom. So for those of you that might not know who he is or not much about him, Alonzo, tell them more about who you are.
Yes, I am. Let's see. I'm 44 years old. I've been married now for 21 years. I serve as one of the pastors at Strong Tower at Washington Park here in Montgomery, Alabama, on the west side of Montgomery. And been serving as the pastor, one of the pastors here, for about 9 years. And actually been in full-time ministry since, 1999? So how many years is that? That's a minute. Maybe.
That's 21.
Ooh. 21 years, man.
21.
And the brother's still here.
And you still here, and you still doing the work of the Lord. And so, some people might ask, some people might argue like, Zoe, with all the people that you're reaching, with all the people that you're blessing and that you're planting seeds and watering seeds through 21 years of ministry, what gave you, you and your wife the inclination to say, hey, we're going to adopt kids into our family?
Man, that's a great question with a loaded answer. If a brother's going to be honest, I really didn't have this type of service in my mind. It's amazing. All the years I've been serving on HBCUs, that's historically black colleges and universities, at Tuskegee University and Alabama State, and serving in missions in Brazil, and going to orphanage in Kenya, and just been all over the place. And somehow adopting children was not on my radar until my wife literally had to nag a brother about it. We were on our third child. She's 13 now, and I guess 2 years after, my wife was already saying, like, man, I really want to adopt. And at the time I was thinking, let's keep trying to have our own and so forth. And so she just let it go. And maybe a year or two later, she asked me about it. And the same thing, babe, so that went on for a long time. For several years. And and my kids are, right now my oldest is 17, my middle child 15, and my youngest biological daughter is 13. But man, I wasn't even seriously consider it until one day my wife said, babe, she's like, what are we gonna do? Can you at least pray about it? I was like, man, I sure can't tell her I'm not gonna pray.
Right.
And I don't think there was something inside me that didn't want to do it. I think in my mind I just couldn't comprehend all that it would take and what it would mean. But because she challenged me to pray about it, that really made me sincerely pray about it and see what God would have us to do. And so I went on and prayed. I said, all right, babe, in 2 weeks I'll give you an answer. And so I sincerely prayed, like, Lord, like, what is it that you would have for our family when it comes to adoption? Like, what would you have us to do? And man, Chamis, I tell you, in 2 weeks, I told her in 2 weeks, I'll let you know something, bro. It was 2 days. I was in a meeting with Terrence Jones. You remember Terrence? He's our lead.
Yeah, pastor. I know Terrence. Yeah, I remember Terrence Jones.
Yeah, so we're in this meeting with some pastors out of Birmingham, trying to help one of our members who was trying to go to serve as a missionary full-time in Thailand. And so all of a sudden, as they're trying to help us, as a young growing church, trying to figure that out, they started giving little stories about their pastor adopting kids, and man, they just went on a list of things that he was doing with his own kids and foster care and all of that. And bro, they had no idea. I was sitting there praying, trying to figure out what that meant for our family. Right. And I said, okay. I took that to mean I don't need to wait 2 weeks to figure out what God is saying.
Right. The confirmation was right there.
Exactly, bro. So
And so what year was that? Because it's 2020 now.
Yeah.
And I know, you've been doing it for a couple years. What year was that when you and your wife decided to adopt?
Yeah, that was, I tell you what, at 2014 is when I told her, like, babe, we need to move forward in adoption. And so that's 6 years ago. But then from there, we went into going to the different classes and just trying to learn more about it. And then the adoption turned into foster care to adopt. And so, so that was, when you start seeing the need of foster kids not being able to be in secured homes and in safe places to grow up, that really changed our ideas of adoption and say, you know what, let's foster to adopt. And so that was 2015 when we actually had our first foster children in our care. They were actually siblings.
Yeah, I remember you telling me that. I think that was right around the time when I had my second child. Well, I was pregnant. My wife was pregnant with our second child. And so it's 2015. You went through the classes, you know, you got registered with the state, make sure your background and just learning about it. So now you got to present this information to the family. What was your biological kid's initial reaction? And what was it like going from a family of 5 to now a family of 8?
Right.
Or 7?
Right. Yeah, they were cool, man. They were on board. They were excited about the idea of you know, taking in kids into our family. So I think the only way we were able to really do it and the transition to be so smooth is that our kids, the age they're pretty mature for their age. I mean, at the time, 5 years ago, so they were 12, 10, and 8. And we just had the environment to be able to do it, because at the time my wife was homeschooling, and so yeah, they were cool, they were excited. And so when our first two kids came, it was cool. Now, it was a huge adjustment because, you know, each child that you come into your house and your home, they all have different stories, and probably 10 times out of 10, if they are in foster care, bro, like they've had something traumatic that they've experienced or been experiencing. Right. And so that's the reason why they had to go into foster care in most cases. And so yeah, man, the transition was fine. We all were ready. But then when the challenges come, like I said, every child is different. Man, you just don't know what you're going to get into until you actually have them in your home. You know, they do all they can to prepare you to get ready, kind of like premarital counseling. Like you learning all you can about marriage and the importance of it and the skills and the practical things to do and how to treat your wife and vice versa. But bro, it's nothing like you actually get married.
Right. Until you jump in the water.
Oh man, bro. Yes.
You know, classes don't mean as much until you actually get in the pool.
Exactly. But I tell you what though, like this agency called Agape, bro, they threw the kitchen sink at us. Like they gave us worst case scenarios, like sexual abuse, traumas, all kinds of things, so that you can really contemplate and think about, man, do you really want to do this? And if so, like, why do you want to adopt and care for these children? And so if you got any ulterior motives, but not to love and care for them, and ultimately to care about the things God cares for, bro, you wasting your time. It get old because the challenges are too great. It's a lot, bro, and it's just, you constantly need God's strength and power every day to love and serve them. And so all that to say, man, the transition, it was good, but again, it was a daily challenge. Every day is a new challenge, depending on the child and their needs. And so everything bends towards the new children that come in, like the kids, the parents, everything shifts. And in some circles, they call it a cocooning period, where the mom kind of fix her attention and kind of makes the home a safe and comfortable place for the children that's coming in, because you don't know, you know, you're not really sure what they've experienced prior to your home. And so you use that cocooning period, that time to bond for about a good month or so, just being intentional about just loving on them, hugging them a lot, those type of things, so that they can adjust and feel comfortable to their new surrounding. Because sometimes these kids been in 3, 4, 5, 6 homes, different homes, and
Right.
so
And so for them to get acclimated to your atmosphere, your surroundings, could take longer than anticipated.
exactly.
And so you talked about you and your wife and her coming to you, saying, "Hey, what do you think about adoption?" And you getting the confirmation and stuff. So what was your why behind it? Because I know when you went through the classes, they were like, you got to understand why you're doing it. What was you and Antoinette's why behind fostering or adopting kids?
Well, I knew Antoinette's why was because, well, one, she loves kids, but two, she wanted to honor God. And for me, that's what I was saying previously, man. I was like, man, how did I miss all these years of walking with the Lord? Like, the Lord had touched a brother as a freshman at ASU, Alabama State University, in '94.
Talk about it.
And man, I'm like, dude, I'm in 2014 and not really understanding that God's love and concern for the orphan and widows didn't, I guess, prick my heart or whatever. But the Lord just used my wife's convictions to open my eyes to see what's clearly on God's mind and heart. And so it was a gradual learning, like realizing that. And we need that, man. That's the thing. It's sad to say, we're just like the disciples in the scriptures. God show us things. He does things in our lives. He bless us, and then we just forget, or we just don't see it clearly. And so the why became eventually like, man, this is what God definitely desires. I want to desire what he desires.
Correct.
And so that's when, so my why was, okay, my wife made a brother pray. And then, then I asked the Lord.
That's okay.
Right. And that's God's patience on the brother, on all of us. And then it was very clear with the pastors talking about foster care and adoption. And God just used those events to open my eyes to see, man, I've been concerned about this from day one. That's just my heart. And so my why is, man, God loves orphans and widows. He's very concerned about them. And he's concerned about them because they're the most vulnerable. And they're just able to be easily taken advantage of. When you don't have protection, like you don't have that daddy in the house. Praise God for our single moms out there. They holding it down the best they can. But somebody, when that man is not there to protect and look out for, just folks that just come along and just take advantage of them all kinds of ways. And so that's God. God is very, very concerned about those who are vulnerable in our society. And it's just been a journey of caring about what he cares about.
And I mean, I asked that question, even though it was not on the question for you to prepare for,
right,
because I think there's fathers out there or families out there that might be listening to this episode right now and might be like, man, I thought about adopting.
Right.
I thought about fostering some kids.
Right.
But I think it's important for them to understand their why, because some people might do it as a way of, generating a supplemental income.
That's true.
Or they might be doing it because they can't have kids of their own.
That's right.
And so I think it's important for people to really understand like what you're getting into and your why,
right,
because your why is what's going to drive you when the days are tough. Would you agree with that?
Oh, definitely, Cham. It's like yeah. Everyone has their reasons. Everybody comes to this topic or subject with different experiences and things like that, and it's definitely important to know your whys. And when your whys are in connection to God and the God of the scriptures, bro, you can't go wrong. And so
that's right. What were the similarities and differences between your biological kids and your adopted kids?
Yeah, one similarity between the two, my biological kids and my adopted kids, that they both desire to be loved and to be accepted, and they both desire affirmation, to be affirmed, to let them know that they belong, that we love them regardless of how bad they screw it up. Like, that's across the board. That's just a human thing. We all desire that. So that's one similarity I could think of. And I would say, some differences is that, for my biological children, especially when we started, they were 12, 10, and 8. They've been in an environment for 12 years with normalcy. And so, if they head off to school and go to college like we did, then they're going to have to do a major adjusting, trying to adjust to their surroundings, new friends, just new everything, especially if you're going out of state. But with these little ones, with the those you adopt or you bring in with foster care, like, they are having those experiences at 2, 3, 4 years old, like whatever the age there are, major adjustments. And so I say that to say the difference is for them, like, they are learning on the fly to adjust to a whole nother family. Like,
a whole nother environment,
a whole nother set of parents, which who knows, like, were their parents prior, were they abusive? When they come in your home, are you going to be abusive? You know what I'm saying? Is it, did I not, if I didn't eat that much with my prior parents, am I going to starve here? So that's a difference there. They come in just not knowing what they're getting. And in your mind, as you're receiving them, you're like, oh, I love you so much. And you got nothing but love for them, which is true. But these little ones have to learn. They have to learn that. They have to learn that I am loved, I am accepted, and this is my family. So,
and that can be a big adjustment, because I think we think, like, since kids are so little, that the transition to receive and to accept love is easy, but for some kids it can be hard.
Exactly. Right.
And I think we have to be prepared for that as parents. I know, when I relocated to Texas, I thought it was going to be an easy transition for my kids because they were so young, but it wasn't. And it took a minute for them to realize that they're not back in Colorado anymore.
Exactly. Right.
So I understand that line more than you think.
Yeah, definitely.
What's some things that you've gained from fostering and adopting kids, like knowledge or insecurities, or what are one or two things that you've gained through fostering and adopting kids, about yourself, about the kids, about other people you come across that you share that you've adopted kids? What are things that you picked up along the way?
Sure. One thing that I learned from this experience of adopting children in foster care is that the Lord has given us what we need to take care of them. And what I mean by that, I was very intimidated in caring for some of my children because of the traumatic backgrounds they've had. Terrible abuse, bro. I mean, you name it, they've experienced it, and being little, and stuff you see in the movies. whether it's someone being murdered, someone in the room with the dead body, to trauma. I mean, you name it. And so when it was on our table to take in these particular children, I was intimidated. I was like, Lord, what do we have to offer to be able to take care of children who've experienced that much? And it took the Lord to really meet me in the scriptures with Joseph. You remember when Joseph, noticed his fiance was pregnant and it wasn't his?
Yeah.
He was ready to bounce. Like, dude, look, I know they ain't mine. We ain't did anything. And you pregnant? Okay, all right.
Right.
I'm
gone.
gone. And you know what? I'm not even gonna put you on blast. I'm gonna divorce you secretly so that you don't die.
Right.
You don't get stoned to death. But what happened? The Lord literally.
So we were talking about a few things that you have gained in adopting or fostering kids.
Yes. Yeah, definitely just, learning that, God has given you enough to take care of them. And, prior to adopting and foster care, like I was very intimidated. And, you a grown man intimidated by a 4 and 6 year old. But the intimidation was, or the fear was, man, they've been through so much. What can I offer to try to help them along, life challenges and so forth? And it literally took the Lord to meet me in the scriptures to be able to help me, because I was really just in my feelings, just like, oh gosh, Lord, you really want us to take care of these, And it just connected. Where I met the Lord in the scriptures was, Joseph's situation when he found out that his wife to be was pregnant and it wasn't his. And he was wanting to leave and bounce and put her away privately so that she doesn't get stoned to death. And yet the Lord came and visited him in a dream and said, don't worry, don't be afraid, like this is of the Lord. And the Lord had to speak to my soul, like literally, bro, like 3-something in the morning, and I read those verses, and it was like the Lord spoke in my heart, like, don't be afraid, Zoe. Like,
right, this is me speaking through your wife. This is me
exactly
speaking through the pastor from Birmingham.
right. But this was immediately like, we're about to take them in, like literally, and I'm having doubts. Because I don't think I'm equipped to do it because of their challenges. And that's when he met me in my anxieties and fears. And that calmed my fears, bro. I was like, because the Lord then literally spoke to a brother, like, don't be afraid.
Wow.
And
I mean, what you just
Lord
said, and not to cut you off, what you just said in these last 2 or 3 sentences could preach right there.
right, bro.
How fear and anxiety comes in right before you're trying to be obedient, and God meets you right where you're at. Like, don't worry,
right there.
I'm here with you. This is meant to be.
Exactly. That's right.
And so,
especially when you have a heart to want to do it for real. Like, God meets us there. So, yeah.
That's right. And so I know earlier in the interview, I kind of messed up on the numbers. And so you said initially you adopted 2 kids, but since then you've taken in 5. Is that correct?
Yeah, we've actually adopted 3.
Okay.
But we've fostered 8 kids total. So out of the 8 kids that we fostered, only 3 of them we actually adopted.
Okay, so talk about that a little bit, because maybe I don't have the same clarity you do. What's the difference between adoption and fostering?
Right. Good question. Foster care. Well, for us, when we change from only adoption to foster to adopt, and also some families just foster just to foster, just because some kids just need a place to stay for a time. But the difference is foster to adopt means they're in your home, you have custody of them temporarily, but it's not a guarantee that you will adopt them. Like, they could actually go to another situation, another family, or someone in their family is in a position to take care of them, which is the best case scenario. Like, you want a situation where someone in their family will be willing to take care of the child. So foster care is a temporary custody of children. They still belong to the state. And then adoption is where they legally become your children. Like, the whole name change, everything.
Okay.
And so when you come in to foster to adopt, you already need to have a mindset of, it's a possibility that we might not be able to adopt these children, and they become our forever children, forever kids.
Okay, and so what you're saying, and let me understand this correctly, you've actually done both. You foster kids where they've been with you temporarily and then went to another situation, another family, blase, and you've also adopted kids where they're still with you more on a permanent basis.
Exactly, that's right. And that was another thing that I've learned with being in foster care, is that this is what I learned, man. I was very tempted to not love my foster children wholeheartedly. I really wanted to just give them half of my heart, because if I go in 2 feet in and love them fully, and if they, a year later, they are no longer in our home, like, who's going to care for my heartbreak? I guess that was my perspective. But what I've learned, what the Lord had opened my eyes to see through different experiences and so forth, is that, man, you love them fully with all your heart, and trust me, if I send them somewhere else, like, you have to trust me with your own heart when it breaks. And it took a child who was in foster care in her upbringing, but she was older lady, like maybe in her 20s or so, and we're having this conversation about what I'm sharing now about, fully giving my heart, and what the Lord taught me I should fully give my heart, because you never know. You never know where, if they're going to be with you or not, but you still need to do that. And so this lady starts weeping at the table, and she was like, yes, I'm so glad to hear that, because one thing about foster kids, they know who the parents that really love them or not. And when you are able to love them with all your heart, even if they are sent to another home, whatever, they will always have those memories of being loved and being accepted. Even though they weren't able to stay a long time. And so that's what I've learned. Man, give your whole heart to these kids. Even, knowing that they might not stay.
Yeah, and I can attest to that, as you being a good friend, an older brother, and a quote-unquote mentor to me when I was in college. I felt like you gave me your whole heart. I really did. Like,
that's what's up.
And that's why I can still remember you to this day. That's why I still have the desire to stay in contact with you to this day. Because when you were trying to reach me, when you were trying to disciple me, I could just tell you were giving your whole heart.
Oh man, that's what's up.
It was just apparent. And so even though you know, just like, you know, these foster kids, I grew up, I graduated from college. Those memories are still etched in your mind.
That's good.
They won't just, you know, go away because you're older and you're in a different situation and you're married and you're, you know, living your life. You know, they're still there. And so I think, you know, between you and maybe even Andrew, you guys were doing it. What you're saying, you were doing it before this idea of adopting and fostering parent came to fruition.
That's good. Looking at it from that perspective, I see where you're coming from. And so that's man, praise God that he would give us hearts to care, you know, because really at the end of the day, man, that love for others come from the Lord, man. And I remember them days we were on the campus, and man, I loved you and all those guys, man. We had our group going, and man, I used to love coming on campus, just being with you guys, and that's it. I love that parallel, bro. We were doing that, you know, in many.
Yeah. So, yeah, man. And so I can see how, from what you were doing 10, 15 years ago, how it translated into you and Antoinette adopting and fostering. Like, as we're having this conversation, it kind of just dropped in my spirit. It's like, wow, you were doing it before the title.
Wow.
It's just we were a lot older. You know, we were young adults and I guess teenagers. But you were doing it before the title, you know. So
man, that's crazy.
I can see how with the title, you know, it became a lot, even because a lot of people on you know, college campuses is coming with baggage, me included.
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah, that's crazy.
So, you know, I'm not saying you guys were perfect, but the love was definitely apparent.
Wow.
You know, for me, and I can attest to that.
Wow.
And so, as we're wrapping up, because I know me and you, we could stay on the phone for another couple hours.
Definitely. Definitely.
But what's one or two things that you would tell someone that would like to adopt or foster children?
I would say, especially if you're already thinking about adopting, I would say you're doing exactly what God made you to do. God made us to reflect Him. And what does it look like to reflect Him? Taking care of the vulnerable. And that's you know, the orphan and the widow. And you know, sometimes we think that orphan means just a daddy and mommy not in the picture, but if you look at what that means, it literally means a father not in the home too. And so so in 2020, what's the orphan and the widow look like? It's them single moms, the widows, the single moms. You got the kids, daddy not in the house, they like orphans.
I mean, I think anybody that doesn't come from a traditional family.
Exactly, bro. Exactly. And so if you're thinking about adopting, like, you need to be encouraged to know you just being like the one who made you. And so you go with it, you move forward in it, you know, learn more about it, just the different challenges, maybe talk to others who've adopted and fostered, you know, children. And it's not, hey, look, you lining up with God, but it's hard though. It's not no walk in the park, and it's not pretty either. It's very difficult. It's very challenging. You're gonna see your own mess as you're trying to help serve and bless these children. But it's exactly what you were made for. And then another thing I would tell someone who's considering adopting is just continue to be willing to love them. When I say continue to be willing, that means that's a continue, because it's going to be days where you're going to be tired. You're going to be like, man, I'm tired of that attitude, or I'm tired of when he this and that or whatever. You got to keep going back to, Lord, give me the strength to be willing to keep loving them. And then lastly, just be open to what God does with your children. Be open to what God, and what I mean by your children is that when they come in your home, we got to realize, like, they really not our children. They really belong to God.
And here's a sneak peek into next week's Fatherhood Friday episode.
My friend Alonzo Brown, I met him in Tuskegee, you know him.
Yeah.
He told me something back in Tuskegee, and I didn't pay no mind. It came around and hit me right in the mouth, and that's where it's been ever since. Just love on him. Just love on him. And he kept saying that, just love on him. So I was like, whatever. But it came to me. Bam, you mad at somebody. It don't matter. Just love on them. You ain't been there and you ain't did this or did that. It don't matter. Just love on them. Or love yourself enough to go back and love on them.